Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Remember, if you love film, gaming, or television content, please consider clicking that subscribe button because today I will be continuing my end of the year lists by celebrating the complete misfires of 2022 by going into the top 10 worst movies of 2022. So let's get into it. This is going to be fun. With this channel, I don't really negatively talk about films all that often because usually it's just a lot more fun gushing about how much you love a film rather than telling everyone how much you hate it. However, this list will be really fun because there are definitely some stinkers that I haven't given my full thoughts on yet. So let's talk about number 10 on this list. At number 10, I have a film that I did talk about on this channel and I gave it a 2 out of 5, and it was maybe one of the most generic and forgettable films on this list, and that is The Invitation. I'm honestly finding it really hard to recall too many details from this one. It's a vampire film that attempts to be horror, and it does have one or two good moments in all fairness. But other than that, it's like any other vampire movie that you've seen in the past 100 years.
Where have I seen this before?
At number 9, I have a film that I didn't find offensively bad. And like The Invitation, it was more or less just really forgettable. I gave this film a 2 out of 5 on my Letterboxd page. And that is the Apple TV film Luck. This tries to be a Pixar film without having really any of the talent or innovation that comes with a Pixar film. The story is kind of boring, and I fully understand that I was not the target demographic for this film. Kids would probably enjoy this as background noise while they're playing with their toys or something, but as a film to just sit and watch, it doesn't really do anything you haven't seen before, and one that I was just bored by, and I finished it really just to finish it. At number 8 is a comedy film that was pretty much irrelevant and outdated as soon as it released, and I also gave this one a 2 out of 5, and that's the new Judd Apatow film, The Bubble. Now, I'm not as low on this film as some people are. I think there are a couple of moments that were genuinely funny, and Pedro Pascal is great in everything he's in, but it is on this list, which means that for the most part, this comedy was very dull. I think humor surrounding the pandemic was so dry from the moment they started doing films about it. There's only one thing that did something funny that was based around the pandemic, and that was Inside. This has the same tired jokes, and by God, this movie is just so long for how surface level everything is. Like, come on, Judd, cut some of your stuff out.
No, would you cut it out?
At number 7 is a film I have a video for, and it is by far the most popular one that had some of the most heated debates around it. I gave this film a 2 out of 5, and that is Blonde. After months of having this film stew in my head for small brief moments, because there are a ton of other movies that I'd rather give my attention to, my opinion has only grown stronger, and the toxic arguments surrounding this film soured everything so much more. To me, this is nothing more than a vanity piece for Andrew Dominik, who I am not going to deny does have talent as a director. He just made a dud here, and that's okay. But to me, this feels like a very exploitative piece of Marilyn Monroe, and anyone who has told me in the past this is a real tale of abuse and all of that, there are things in here that probably have never even happened once. I will let you in on something. The whole affair that Marilyn has had with JFK has never really even been confirmed. It is nothing more really than a conspiracy theory. So how is this respectful to Marilyn and JFK and tells this authentic tale of exploitation and abuse when he is assaulting her on film and we don't know that has even happened yet? Ana de Armas is a talented actress and gives a committed performance here, but I think the overall quality of the film makes the performance feel like a caricature in my opinion. Also, I saw comments saying how the constant aspect ratio changes are great and I wouldn't understand the artistry on display. I mean, what utter rubbish. There are so many films that I like that utilize constant aspect ratio changes, My favorite film last year, The French Dispatch, did that a whole lot, but it felt purposeful, not just because it's like, hey, look how cool I am and how artistic I am with the color changes and aspect ratio changes. It is purposeful to separating these three stories. I've seen people say that these changes reflect Norma Jean's psychology, but there are just so many better ways of doing it than filming this like the way Michael Bay did with Transformers: The Last Night.
Hi, I'm movie genius Michael Bay.
Honestly, the film felt like it was made from someone from I'm 14, This Is Deep, and its overly indulgent nature made this a chore to sit through. I don't even think the film is as offensive as most people, even though I still do think it's offensive. I was just more annoyed that this 3-hour film had no real substance and just felt like something to boost someone's ego rather than tell some kind of story that is effective in its messaging. If you like this film, don't get me wrong, I'm very happy for you. We are all different people and we all like different things, and that's what makes us all unique. But don't tell me I don't like this film because I didn't get it, because I did, and because I did, I dislike this even more. I'm not opposed to liking a film that is heavily artistic. I actually love that. As you will see in my own personal Academy Awards video coming soon, you will see nominations for a film like Bardo, because that to me is how you handle that level of storytelling that has a level of ambiguity to it. Blonde is not as deep as people believe it is. It has enough substance to fill a puddle and not the weird waterfall that Dominic uses when transitioning from a threesome scene in this film. Whew. Now, getting that off my chest, let's get into number 6, which is a film I think everyone loves to hate and became the biggest meme of 2022. I gave this film a 1.5 out of 5, and that is the cinematic masterpiece that is Morbius. I am not gonna lie, we will be calling this an Oscar winner in March because this is a lock for that fan favorite award. I mean, how funny is it that Sony thought, because of all of the memes, that they could be sneaky and re-release this film in the hopes that it will draw a crowd because of the memes, and it just bombed again. That is a failure on epic proportions, and I think that is amazing.
Fail!
Going into the movie itself, I mean, it's a very generic superhero blockbuster that pretty much copied and pasted the template for this genre and chucked it into Morbius. The only thing that was enjoyable about this was the amazing dance scene that Matt Smith had, which was one of the most unintentionally hilarious scenes of the year. Other than that, if you haven't seen this yet, it's not really worth your time. Just enjoy the memes and stay clear of this movie. At number 5 was a film I was hoping would be a cool, underrated watch, but just turned out to be something I really did not enjoy at all. I would give this film a 1 out of 5, and that is the new Netflix film I Used to Be Famous. I feel bad for putting this one on the list because this doesn't really seem to have the budget as some of the other movies here. It is quite a simple film in a lot of ways too. However, with this, I just found it to be extremely uninspired, boring, and very, very corny. The third act, I was just cringing so hard because it was maybe one of the most corniest things I've seen all year. There isn't really a whole lot to talk about with this one. It just didn't work for me. At number 4 is a movie I have no problem talking bad about, and the only reason it isn't at number 1 is because there were some real incompetent films that are higher. At number 4, I would give this film a 1 out of 5, and that is Uncharted. I know a lot of people just think that this is average or some kind of crowd pleaser, but I absolutely hate this film and everything it stands for. I am a huge fan of PlayStation and their titles, Uncharted being one of them. While it has the treasure hunting and everything like that, it still manages to separate itself from Indiana Jones because the characters just have their own unique and distinct personality, and they're so expressive, making this a very entertaining game series. Uncharted 4 in particular is one of my favorite games ever, and I always thought if Hollywood cannot adapt a Naughty Dog game into a film, they should just give up because Naughty Dog have pretty much handed it to Hollywood on a silver platter. The story's already there. Hollywood, just give up. No more movies, because you clearly don't care enough about these really respected games to adapt them properly, and just want to appeal to the lowest common denominator, because that's what they did with Uncharted. Casting Tom Holland as Nathan Drake and Mark Wahlberg as Sully were two of the most abysmal casting decisions that I've ever seen, and it just reeks of just casting actors who can pull box office numbers rather than being faithful to a well-written character. Everything about this film just feels so uninspired and comes with the worst traits of blockbuster filmmaking I have seen. It doesn't really care about this movie because it just focuses on sequels, and it mainly adapts from Uncharted 4, the best story in the series hands down, and turns it into just generic crap that feels like an Indiana Jones ripoff rather than its own thing. Also, you hear in the press tours that Tom Holland used to play this game a lot and is a fan. I mean, who are you kidding, dude? I don't mind them not recreating a film one-to-one to the game, but at least give it the respect it deserves. And I just don't get why Hollywood can adapt a book very well. We got Dune last year, which is a brilliant adaptation of a book. Why can't filmmakers treat a video game that has a story that matches or tops a lot of stories in film properly? It just further shows that the video game industry still doesn't get the respect it deserves, and here's hoping that The Last of Us show isn't anywhere near abysmal as this film. Number 3 is a movie that is so bad that for a brief moment I had debated whether this was the worst film ever made. I'm of course going to give this film a half a star out of 5, and that is 365 Days This Day. Now, it's quite funny because as a watch, I'd probably rather watch this over quite a few films on this list, because it is just so incompetent in every way that it is so laughable. I mean, I would not be surprised if a 12-year-old wrote this film. There is a twist that I think I remember coming up with when I was 9 or 10. I feel like they just stole my idea as a kid. Like, come on.
And we met this set of twins.
No, in all seriousness, the way this film portrays women is just disgusting. I wouldn't say this one was as offensive in this aspect as the first 365 Days, but it is still very bad. Also, the way this is structured is just so bizarre. It is basically 50 corny music videos stitched together to make one abomination. I actually think someone like Tommy Wiseau is more skillful as a director compared to the people that made this, and I mean, that is saying something. I say that with love, of course, because Tommy Wiseau is a goddamn legend. At number 2, you want to hear what's worse than one 365 Days movie? 2 of them. Also coming in at half a star. Yes, they made 2 365 Days movies this year, and somehow this one is even worse. The next 365 Days. Was this supposed to be the end of the trilogy? Because the ending is as hilariously incompetent as the rest of these films. What makes this one a little lower to me than the last one is that this one just isn't as fun to laugh at, and more borders on just being really, really boring. They both do the exact same thing, and they are just both hilariously incompetent. I can't believe they couldn't even improve a little bit. 365 Days is just so bad that it makes 50 Shades of Grey look like the finest art, and for a long time I just did not think that was possible. At number 1, I have a movie that was so soulless and boring, and it just felt like it was made in a boardroom. I just had to put this one at the top of my list, and I am appalled that this actually made one Oscar shortlist for its visual effects. I gave this film a 0.5 out of 5, and I've covered it on this channel. I am talking about Jurassic World Dominion, maybe the biggest failure I've seen from someone trying to end a series of films of some of the most iconic blockbusters put to screen. They took Steven Spielberg's legendary vision and just shat all over it, creating a mess of a film that was purely there to make a quick buck and leave. The film is just so boring, and you can tell the ensemble is just phoning it in for a quick buck. And who are the creative visionaries that conceive this story? Because, get this, in a film that is known for having giant dinosaurs hunting humans and having so many tension-filled scenes, they decide, you know what? Fuck that. We don't need dinosaurs. We need locusts. That's what the fans really want. How on earth did the person who came up with that idea not just get fired on the spot for coming up with such a terrible concept? Also, the comments made by director Colin Trevorrow about the new dinosaur being the Joker of the Jurassic Park franchise because he just wants to see the world burn is a comment that just makes me laugh every time, because these words just concocted one of the dumbest sentences I have ever heard. I have no more to say about this. It is pure crap and was one of the few times in a theater where I felt like I was having my time wasted right in front of my eyes.
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
Anyway, those are my top 10 worst films of 2022. Honestly, this has been a pretty solid year for film, but man, is this one sorry list. Let me know in the comments below what some of the weaker films that you've seen this year are. And also, if you really love some of the films that I put on this list, please don't take it personally. I guarantee there are some movies that you just cannot stand that I adore, and that's what makes us all unique as individuals. Anyway, I appreciate you all so much for stopping by. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.